All right, we about to get into our good book. Here's Conversations. You did. Still in the introduction. No chapters yet, but let's get it. It's good stuff. Idea number 3. Have you ever left a meeting only to discover that apparently we were all just in the same, different meeting? Or sent a perfectly innocent email or text and been appalled to learn how it was received? Hmm. It seems one of the most common outcomes of communication is misunderstanding. Why? All conversations are with myself, and sometimes they involve other people. This is true in the sense that we all unconsciously automatically put our own interpretation or spin on the words of others. No matter what a person says, we decide what he or she really means by it, and then we operate as if our interpretation, our story is true without checking it out. He said this, you heard that. You intended one thing, however, the recipient of your message gave your words a tone, an intent, a meaning that never even crossed your mind. How many times have you said to someone, I wish we had recorded that conversation because it would prove that I never said, or I did say? Each of you was convinced your interpretation was the right one. There are not enough emojis in the world to ensure that your emails and texts are heard in the way you intend. We are constantly interpreting everything we hear others say and constantly being interrupted in turn. Sorry, and constantly being interpreted in turn. We're constantly interpreting everything we hear others say and constantly being interpreted in return. Studies have shown that misinterpretations cost companies many millions each year, and they are serious stumbling blocks for relationships. It is not difficult to understand how misunderstandings and conversational flybys occur, given that each of us experiences life through our unique context. The filter we will look at in Chapter 1, consisting of our strongly held opinions, beliefs, and attitudes, which have been shaped and reinforced over a lifetime and became truths at some point in our lives. Our context shapes the internal conversation we are having with ourselves all day, every day. We couldn't stop it if we wanted to. William Jennings Bryan wrote, 2 people in a conversation amount to 4 people talking. The 4 are what one person says, what he really wanted to say, what his listener heard, and what he thought he heard. Spending time with those who misinterpret us in almost every conversation will cause relationships to stall or end. On the other hand, what about our possible misinterpretations, the context through which we filter everything we hear? For now, just consider that all of us are interpreting everything we hear or read all the time and are often getting it wrong. An important goal of this book is that you will learn how to put that conversation with self to work in a positive way. To review the 3 ideas, our careers, our companies, our relationships, and our very lives succeed or fail, gradually, then suddenly, one conversation at a time. The conversation is the relationship. All conversations are with myself, and sometimes they involve other people. Have you met the man? The goal of this book is to transform the conversation central to your success. Transformation. It's a big word. I remember going with my daughter Jennifer to Dixie's Barbecue for lunch. Dixie's has the best barbecue in Western Washington. Ask anyone, it's official. The proprietor visits each table and asks, have you met the man? The man is the seriously hot sauce for which Dixie's is famous. Lay it on us, we said. Within seconds, 2 women of reasonably professional demeanor were transformed into bleary-eyed, runny-nosed, red-blotched, mascara-streaked, ugly-faced, broken down, begging for mercy, crying for mama, fixing to die, hiccuping lumps of humility. There was no way out but through, sans dignity. And if you've never heard a grown child of yours whisper, help me, It's unnerving, let me tell you, particularly when you yourself expect your last vision to be the ceiling of a barbecue shack in Bellevue, Washington. Outside in the parking lot, still gasping, there were three things for which I had a new appreciation. The line, I once was blind, but now I see. If your mouth is on fire, do not attempt to quench it with soda pop. Not all transformation is pleasant. I have met the man, lived to tell about it, and most of the lining of my mouth has regenerated. If it's instant transformation you're after, go to Dixie's Barbecue. Don't say I didn't warn you. A less painful, though no less difficult step would be to transform how you bring yourself and others into a conversation and out of a conversation. That's what Fierce is about. That's what you'll explore in this book. So let's talk about the transformations you can reasonably expect when you and your team engage in fierce conversations. From X to Y, what Fierce transforms. Before Fierce, low levels of inclusion and diversity. Employees are there for the paycheck. Decisions are made without appropriate input, which often falls short of brilliant. After Fierce, high levels of inclusion and diversity. Employees are invested in the company's success. Additional input results in better decisions. Before Fierce, anonymous performance reviews once or twice a year. Employees are confused, shocked, angry, unclear. After Fierce, employees receive frequent face-to-face feedback so they always know how they are doing and trust they are on track to succeed. Before Fierce, focus on activities, on reasons why it is not possible to reach individual or collective goals. Stalled initiatives. After Fierce, focus on results, deep-seated accountability, initiatives executed. Before Fierce, beating around the bush, dancing around the subjects, skirting the issues, no one and nothing changes. After Fierce, X, Y, X, Y, X, Y. Naming and addressing the issues truthfully and effectively, impetus for change. An us versus them, me versus you culture, politics, turf wars, competition for resources and attentions. High levels of alignment, collaboration, partnership at all levels throughout the organization, and the healthier financial performance that goes with it. Leaders overwhelmed by the complexity of their tasks, everything is a priority. The timely resolution of periodic leadership challenges, clear priorities. Leaders micromanaging versus leading, no grassroots leadership development. Improvement in leadership effectiveness, development of quality bench to fill future leadership positions. A relationship with customers based solely on price, difficulty maintaining margins. A relationship with customers that extends beyond price. Customers are engaged on an emotional level. Original thinking is happening elsewhere, sleepwalking through the manual. Shared enthusiasm for agility, continued learning and epiphanies, shared standard of performance. A culture of terminal niceness, avoiding or working around problem employees, tolerating mediocrity. Effectively confronting attitudinal performance or behavioral issues, enhanced employee capacity to serve as effective agents for strategic success. These transformations aren't easy or simple and won't happen overnight, but they are worth the time and the conversations needed to shift from one to the other. No matter what situation you are in, transformation is possible and necessary because what we want from leadership today is quite different from what we wanted not that long ago. Here is a breakdown illustrating those differences. The old leadership model, directing and telling. New leadership model, really asking, really listening, then directing, in that order. Old leadership model, feedback free, development free zones, little if any personal growth. New leadership model, feedback rich, development rich zone, ongoing personal development. Old model, delegating, abdicating, holding people accountable. New model, delegating, coaching, modeling accountability, holding people able. Old model, high task / low relationship and the culture of compliance that goes with it. High task, high relationship and the culture of passionate engagement that goes with it. Silos and fiefdoms, competing for resources, not good at partnering. Sharing resources, collaborating, partnering across functions in service of the organization's goals. Information starved, need to know culture, open, transparent, inclusive culture. Business as usual, original thinking, going further, taking risks, agile, innovative. Imposing leaders' view of reality / issues, exploring multiple competing realities. As you may have deduced, I am not neutral, whether it's transforming a company into a great place to work, improving customer renewal rates, increasing employee engagement, enhancing cross-boundary collaboration, or providing leadership development and the healthier financial performance that goes with it. Success or failure occurs one conversation at a time. Conversations are the work of the leaders and the workhorses of the company. After all, business is fundamentally an extended conversation with employees, customers, and the unknown future emerging around us. What gets talked about in a company, how it gets talked about, and who is invited to the conversation determine what will happen or won't happen. Conversations provide clarity or confusion, invite cross-boundary collaboration and cooperation, or add concertina wire to the walls between well-defended fiefdoms. They inspire us to tackle our toughest challenges or stop us dead in our tracks, making us wonder why we bothered to get out of bed this morning. It's time to change the conversation. Consequently, our work with each client begins by putting into place a foundation for conversational models that become workhorses for an organization. Team conversations. Engage individuals and teams in frictionless debates that interrogate the status quo and ignite dialogue around clarifying goals, solving problems, evaluating opportunities, and designing strategies, resulting in excellent decisions for the organization enthusiastically implemented. That's a hell of a paragraph right there. Coaching conversations. Engage individuals and teams in conversations that increase clarity, improve understanding, and provide impetus for action and for change when needed, resulting in increased feelings of loyalty and teamwork, professional development, the advancement of projects, and accelerated results. Delegation conversations. Clarify responsibilities and raise the level of personal accountability, ensuring that each employee has a clear path of development, action plans are implemented, deadlines are met, goals are achieved, and leaders are free to take on more complex responsibilities. Confrontation conversations. Engage individuals and teams in conversations that successfully resolve attitudinal performance, or behavioral issues by naming and addressing tough challenges. This book will help you master and implement all four models, integrating them into your leadership style and strengthening and transforming your team and organization for the better over time. Note, do try this at home. My own journey. For 13 years, I worked with corporate leaders through the auspices of Vistage International, an organization dedicated to increasing the effectiveness, enhancing the lives of CEOs. Thousands of CEOs worldwide meet for a full day each month with 12 to 16 of their peers to advise one another on their most pressing issues. They also meet monthly with someone like myself to focus on topics from their businesses and their personal lives, from budgets, strategies, acquisitions, personnel, and profitability or lack thereof, to faltering marriages, health issues, or kids who are upside down. 12 conversations over the course of a year with each CEO. Since time is a CEO's most precious commodity, it was essential that our time together be qualitatively different from time spent with others. Each conversation needed to accomplish something useful. My success and that of my peers depended on our ability to engage leaders in conversations that provoked clarity, insight, and action. In the beginning, a fair number of my conversations were less than fierce. They were somewhat useful, but we remained in relatively familiar, safe territory. Some, I confess, were pathetic. No guts, no glory. I wimped out. Either I didn't have it in me that day, or I looked at the expression on my Vistage member's face and took pity. I don't remember those conversations. They had no lasting impact, and I am certain my Vistage members would say the same. The fierce conversations I remember, the topics, the emotions, the expressions on our faces, it was as if together we created a force field by asking the questions, by saying the words out loud. Things happened as a result of those conversations. When people asked me what I did, I told them that I ran think tanks for corporate leaders and worked with them one-to-one. That was the elevator speech. What I really did was extend an intimate invitation to my clients, that of conversation, and my job was to make each conversation as real as possible. As my practice of robust conversations became increasingly compelling to me, I imagined that I was turning into a conversational cartographer, mapping a way toward deepening authenticity for myself and for those who wanted to join me. The CEOs with whom I worked became increasingly candid, and with that candor came a growing sense of personal freedom, vitality, and effectiveness. The most successful leaders were invariably determined to engage in an ongoing, honest conversation with themselves, paying fierce attention to their work and lives, resulting in a high level of personal authenticity, ferocious integrity, emotional honesty, and a greater capacity to hold true to their vision and enroll others in it. My colleagues worldwide asked me to provide training on what I was doing, to pass along the skills needed for these conversations about which I had become so passionate. This required me to articulate for myself the approach I was developing. In January 1999, I ran a fierce workshop attended by 16 extraordinary individuals from 7 countries. There was no role playing, no one pretended to be someone else. No one worked on an imaginary issue. It was all real play. The participants engaged in conversations as themselves, using real, current, significant issues as the focus for our practice sessions, and we did not shy away from emotions. Following one of the exercises, a colleague from Newcastle on Tyne, England, had tears in his eyes. "I've longed for conversations like this all my life," he said, "but I didn't know they were possible. I don't think I can settle for anything less going forward." Attendees emailed others about the impact of the workshop, about how they were applying the principles and using the tools they had learned, and about the results they were enjoying with their clients, colleagues, and family members. Word spread and the demand grew. Each subsequent workshop had a waiting list, and each workshop went deeper. Corporate clients invited me to work with their key executives to foster fierce dialogue within their companies. I recognized that my travel schedule had gotten out of hand when I sat down in my seat at the Sydney Opera House and reached for my seatbelt. But my work with clients around the world has been worth it. I recognized that my travel schedule had gotten out of hand when I sat down in my seat at the Sydney Opera House and reached for my seatbelt. Imagine that. But my work with clients around the world has been worth it. We were exploring core principles which, when embraced, dramatically change lives one conversation at a time. Fierce conversations are about moral courage, clear requests, and taking action. Fierce is an attitude, a skill set, a mindset, a way of life, a way of leading, a strategy for getting things done. Many times I've heard words to this effect. Your work has profoundly improved our leadership team's ability to tackle and resolve tough challenges. The practical tools allow leaders to become fierce agents for positive change. Or this, you've helped me engage my workforce in moving the company to a position of competitive superiority. Or this, a fierce conversation is like the first parachute jump from an airplane. In anticipation, you perspire and your mouth goes dry. Once you've left the plane, it's an adrenaline rush that is indescribable. Or this weekend, my wife and I had the best conversation we've had in 10 years. It feels like falling in love all over again. This book began, dang, this introduction is long as hell. I thought I was finished. Ooh. Oh, what's that right here? Ooh. Read a lot of pages right there. That's good stuff.